Welcome to this episode of Bloodhound Pix. As always, I am one of your hosts, Craig.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm Josh.
And this week we are going back to, I believe it's our first double feature since, well, at least
forever,
since we started recording
in this presidency,
this new year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is Josh's pick for Netherworld and for Night Killer. Since they're Josh's, I'll let him dealer's choice of what he wants to start with and give you the synopsis and everything. Take it away.
Okay, so we're gonna have to do Netherworld first because that's a complete piece of shit compared to Night Killer. So
you're goddamn right.
I mean, fucking A. So Netherworld is from 1992. It's a full moon picture release, which should give you a lot of insight into what you're getting into. It's got really fucking cool poster art, and that's about it. But the synopsis here on the Internet Movie Database says, a young man arrives at his father's mansion in Louisiana to discover that a secretive cult is using winged creatures, in other words, birds, to raise the dead to do their bidding. I mean, what the fuck does even a young man arrives at his father's mansion in Louisiana remind you of immediately?
The Beyond.
That is correct, Kyle.
Can we just play trivia?
Yeah.
Damn, maybe we should. We can just skip talking about this and we'll just play, trivia game. But the answer is going to be the Beyond for every question.
And somehow Craig's just always not going to know it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Netherworld. I didn't actually have this selection when I first came up with these two, but I saw that. I don't even know how I saw it, but it was like some anniversary of the release or something. And so I changed my mind and selected it. And honestly, part of the reason too was that poster art. I remember as a young man, just being terrifying. Cause it is pretty badass, but,
and then you watch the movie.
Yeah. And then when you see the film, you realize that the poster is the only thing badass about it.
I'll give that for Full Moon, is that they knew how to do good poster.
True.
Yeah.
True. I mean, if there's one thing that they were actually good at, that would definitely be it. So Netherworld, yeah. I mean, the plot synopsis is pretty straightforward. However, the movie is not. And I was just kind of in a state of confusion for pretty much the entire thing. I was never really sure what was going on or why things were happening. I mean, it was just like random event after random event that didn't really make sense ever. And then I guess like it sort of kind of was like, you know, they clearly spent like all of the money for whatever the budget was at the end, which is fine, I suppose, but just in getting from the beginning to that moment, it was just a fucking blur of I don't fucking have any idea really. I thought it was interesting. So essentially we have like two locations for this film: the estate, which, you know, was I guess a mansion type house in Louisiana. And then the other location was this bar that was conspicuously about 20 feet away from the mansion, which is really convenient, I guess, if you want to, you know, go have some drinks. That also happened to be this bar was also like on stilts over the top of a bayou. And somehow or another, when you got inside of the bar, it was, I don't know, impossibly fucking huge. You'll see what I mean.
And there's a basement.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's a basement.
For something on stilts.
Yeah. So yeah, it's basically just these two locations for pretty much the entire film. That was just, I mean, confusing as hell. I mean, I don't really know of another way of describing the experience of being like, I have no idea. Okay, sure.
Yeah, I watched it last weekend because I wanted to get a head start, and then I rewatched it last night, and I still don't know what happened, like at all, really.
I'm glad that you both said that, because I watched it last night, and there was a part of me that was like, well, did I watch this movie too late? Am I more tired than I assumed? Because I'm just not following anything that's happening. But yeah, I'm glad it wasn't just a me thing, or that, you know.
No, it wasn't you. I knew once.
No, dude.
Once we had the kid on the boat with the voiceover about like how crazy his experience was that we're about to watch or whatever, and like his dad died and shit, I was like, we're in for something here. This isn't gonna be good.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, it's funny that you mentioned, I mean, how many fucking voiceovers are you going to have in this fucking movie? Seriously. But one of the more, I guess, you know, we were talking about how nonsensical most of this is. And one of the things that really stuck out to me as being like just completely nonsensical was the character who inherits the estate in Louisiana. His father passed away, hence him inheriting this estate. And he's like, what, 30, maybe 25, whatever. So he's never met his father either, that was not confusing. And he also mentions that didn't his dad just like abandon him and his mother or something, you know? So so he's never met his dad, and the guy shows up at the estate, and creepy lawyer guy gives him this notebook that his dad had written, these like, I guess, letters to the son, asking him to do all this fucking random shit. And the kid is just like, I gotta do this. And it's like, why? Why the fuck would you care? You've never met this guy in your life. You've already stated that he abandoned you and your mother. Fuck this guy. Why do you care?
Well, and then
Go ahead, Greg. No, I was just gonna say, I guess for spoiler sake of the movie, The Skeleton Key.
Oh, okay.
You get almost the plot of that, where, you know, they want to, the father wants to live on through the son's body with voodoo magic, you know, whatever.
Bird voodoo.
They're just
voodoo.
And yeah, it becomes this whole thing where you get that reveal pretty early on, it seems like, for me. Or earlier on, that it's not like a twist ending. You're like, oh, okay, so then why is the son still doing this if he knows that his father kind of wants to use his body? Or I don't know.
Well,
it just kind of keeps going.
He kind of gets seduced by the father's like magical mistress, but that's like much later.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing too, I mean, like you kind of like, you get that the dad, like what Craig just said, the dad who has passed away, wanting to come back to life and live through the son's body. I mean, you get that information. I don't even remember it was early though. And then the preceding, you know, let's say hour, it's almost like the kid doesn't get it. And he still is like finding out information that he should already fucking know. I mean,
Like,
that
just
is
run
not
away.
Exactly. Like,
That's what happens when you don't dance with crazy old Bijou. Like, he wants to dance with you at the bar on stilts, and he's willing to beat another man to dance with you, and you don't do it.
oh fuck yeah, I forgot about the spurning of Bijou.
The highlight for me is the Marilyn Monroe impersonator who's not really, or says she isn't.
But then she has that moment where she's like, well, maybe next time you'll come in my room. I have like moves no one knows. But now I'm going to leave the movie.
Yeah.
Like, she's in like 2 scenes.
Yeah.
Did anyone else watch the post-credits scene? I know I told Craig to.
Yeah.
I don't think I did, no.
It's weird. I mean, I guess they're supposed to be the bird people or something, but they just say something about like, what is taffeta, or what is something that must have been mentioned in the movie. But yeah, there's just like a weird like jokey post-credit outtake thing with like the bird people.
And they're just sitting at a table and
yeah.
Which is funny that you bring up the taffeta, because my wife and I looked that up because we're like, what the hell even is that? And it's just some like boozy, like Louisiana drink.
Okay.
So that green shit that they kept drinking that was in like, I don't know, 3 different scenes. That's what taffeta is. It's just some like, Louisiana, alcoholic drink.
Weird.
Bloodhound Pix, where you learn stuff.
Yes.
Exactly.
I, for no explainable reason, love the song that's in the middle of the movie. That's like a weird montage that really feels out of place. Like, it feels like a whole different fucking movie, and then they just play like that entire wordless song while he's like dancing with his dad's mistress or whatever. And I'm like, I feel like I'm supposed to feel stuff, but all I'm doing, I just like this song, but I don't know what this is doing here.
Oh. Yeah, that was strange. I forgot about that, but yeah, that was strange.
So do we ever have any?
It was like surprisingly like a short movie, but there were so many moments that felt padded. So, after the kid first gets to the estate, and there's the older woman who's like the housekeeping person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's got like the slutty daughter.
Yeah. Who's into older man.
And then,
I'm into older man.
There's that point though where the slutty daughter tells the main character like, oh, I'll give you a tour. And then like there's a scene where she's like taking him around the estate, but not saying a word. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. Like, most of the time when you're around another person that you don't really know, you fucking talk. I don't know. It was fucking weird. And it's like, why even bother having that in there?
Padding, I guess, it seems like.
Yeah.
No, it felt like it lasted, that movie, like 2 hours.
As long as Long turned the foundation.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you guys notice when, I think it's towards like the hour mark, somewhere in there, where he's I think he's like starting to realize what the fuck's going on, but he's in a bathtub, and that mistress has her hand in the bathtub, and he's like, we're cutting to these flashes of his realization, but it looks like she's giving him a hand job.
Yeah, that was again.
That was a highlight.
It was interesting. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to be getting out of this.
There's a couple scenes like that where it's just simulation of, I don't know, hand jobs
and bird voodoo.
Voodoo. And then just that hand, which just felt like to me it just felt like they saw Phantasm. They're like, we just need a thing that flies through the air and fucking kills people.
Yeah, I was gonna say we have to mention how much they love Phantasm, because so there's a stone hand in the basement that would not exist of the bar that's actually a brothel, guess we need to be a lot more clear. And the stone hand basically flies around, like the fucking sphere in Phantasm, and kills the bad men. But even like the tracking of the thing, I mean, it's just like, yeah, you guys like Phantasm, don't you?
It even flies through the corridors that looked like the Phantasm, like mortuary. And think about it now, maybe the reason why it was so strange is they kind of followed that Phantasm dream logic.
Yeah, just without even logic. Dream logic
Yeah, I was
without
gonna say,
dream logic.
Yeah. Okay. So any last words on this one before we move to Night Killer?
Just buy the poster.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Skip the film, get a poster. You'll thank us later.
Josh, send us on our way for Night Killer.
All right, so yeah. Night Killer might be one of my favorite movies right now. This one's from 1990. So I kind of had a somewhat of a theme, I guess, in at least, the era these were made. Night Killer, though, is an Italian film. Directed by Claudio Fragasso. And I guess I'll give you the Internet Movie Database says that the synopsis of this film is: a serial killer with a rubber-like Freddy Krueger mask terrifies the city of Virginia Beach, which has got to be the stupidest synopsis. But I mean, it's not incorrect. This movie is way better than it has any fucking right or reason to be. I should say too, since we're on the topic of Bloodhound Pix and being educated, that this film was released in 1990, and in Italy it was called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, which is fucking hilarious because the actual Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 also came out in 1990. And this movie has absolutely nothing to do with the franchise whatsoever. It was clearly just one of those Italian things of, fuck it, let's just use that name. Everyone's going to know what that is, and everyone's going to want to see it. So I thought that was
it doesn't even
funny.
deal with backwoods or anything remotely
At all.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Takes place in Virginia Beach.
Apparently, too. I saw that too, and apparently Texas Chainsaw in Italy was called "Do Not Open the Door." So it was. So this was called "Do Not Open the Door 3."
Nice. Nice.
Yes.
So so Night Killer is just goddamn amazing. There's not one choice in this movie that is made that is wrong. I mean, not one.
There's not.
And it's one of those things too where it's like, it's weird that it's sort of like a giallo, but it's also a slasher, which is kind of like, yeah, I mean, sometimes they're similar. They definitely kind of share, certain attributes, but obviously this is an Italian film too, where that type of stuff is always going to be prominent. But the guy, so the killer in the movie is just weirdly modeled after Robert Englund too, which I guess, I don't know, maybe since they were calling it Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, instead of just having him look like Leatherface, let's have him look like Robert Englund. I don't know. The mask, though, I mean, it does look like that. But I feel like it's derivative, but it's not a stone cold ripoff, I guess. I would say that the the long fingernailed glove is probably a little more, which is also hilarious because it's clearly rubber, but he fucking punches right through torsos like it's nobody's business.
Yes, even after it's revealed that it's rubber.
And he slices across a person's throat in the opening, not to mention with a rubber nail, rubber like fingernail claw thing.
And then the effect of the throat slit is gone after she gets up and runs for about another 5 minutes.
But she just can't speak. That's
like I said, there is not one choice that this movie makes that is not exactly what they should have done. There's also another great sequence where the killer, he is in like a natural history museum, I guess. And it's like closing time. So these like security guard types are like leaving the building, and they're telling this woman who obviously is like in charge of shit that they're leaving. And so they go out the door, and the woman is clearly there by herself. And wouldn't you know it, that fucking killer just shows up out of nowhere. And funny thing though, the woman is wearing glasses and high heels, and she takes off running to get away from the dude. And she falls, and her glasses fall off of her face. And she gets up and kicks off the high-heeled shoes, takes off running again. Of course, the killer nabs her and kills her, but she's wearing both the high-heeled shoes and the glasses when he does so. I mean, fucking A, dude. Bitch is magical or something. I don't get it.
I was marveling too much at the shot through the aquarium, like right at the beginning of that, for no reason, which was amazing.
So I have to also say in the beginning, I wanted to get to this point that we have a character who is the only survivor of him so far, and she suffered some trauma through it for 8 hours.
Craig. She has a name, and it's Melanie.
Okay, and then
back.
Okay, so anyways, she blocked it out of her memory, everything. There's a point she's driving early on, within, the first half hour mark, a guy who is drinking insults her, is like talking,
he's trying to hit on her.
Sexually, yeah, he's sexually aggressive to her. She quickly turns away, not wanting to. He turns around, follows her. I'll do the whole play-by-play just to show.
Well, you missed that he's drinking a bottle of liquor, and he offers her some from his car to hers. Like, how would she even get it?
Yeah. So then he follows her into a building, goes into the women's restroom. Then she pulls the gun out on him, tells him to undress, which he's wearing like a little Speedo thing, throws his clothes in the toilet. Then she leaves, calling him an asshole. And then he comes out of the toilet, and there's the reception guy who's like, "Hey, where are your clothes at, man?" It's like,
I was molested.
in the little boys'
room.
That's the best part.
That is one of the greatest things ever.
So after all that, he still follows her as she finds her on the beach committing suicide,
and it's
with
like,
pills
how
and
the
liquor.
fuck would he ever know where she went?
Yeah, and then he's made out to be the good guy. Is the moral to that? It's like he saves her and all this stuff,
and he ends up being her husband at the end. Yeah. Like, it's not really well spelled out, but I guess apparently it was the whole time. But yeah,
you're like, you're this perverted guy that's willing to follow a woman into a woman's restroom to, like, basically.
Yeah, but he was supposed to be doing that, right? Because the woman, Melanie's psychiatrist, wanted the husband to play out this like douchey bit in order to get her to snap out of her, I guess, PSTD, or her basically like repressing all of this shit, because she's the only one that's actually seen the face of the killer. But because it was so traumatic, she can't remember it. So it is one of those things where, I mean, I'll never forget the first time I saw this movie, which was a long time ago, and I've seen it many times since then. But it's almost like one of those like twist things that it's completely implausible, but it's so much smarter than you would ever think could come out of a movie like this. That I mean, it's literally borders on genius.
It really does. I want to talk about the fucking ridiculous guy who runs the hotel that they're staying at, who like, so the perverted guy takes his wife, that we don't know is his wife, is like holding her hostage at this hotel and eating fried chicken and abusing her basically. But then the like, I don't even know what the scene is before, but the dude's coming back to the hotel and that guy's just like, oh, you guys, did you have a great night with your girlfriend last night? She seemed really drunk or something. And then they and then she tries to shoot him, or he tries to shoot her, and then that guy shows up and is like, what was that? It was a gunshot. And then he's like, what does he say? He's like,
we broke the mirror.
Yeah, we broke your mirror, but the hotel guy's like, we can't have any of that here, you understand? Like, this is for your own well-being, bud. I don't know. You had to be there.
It's just one of those things, just like everything else, where it's like, what? Like, dude, that was clearly a fucking gunshot. And he's like, no, we just broke a mirror because they sound exactly the same.
Yes. I also love the fucking detective guy. He had some great lines.
Yeah.
When he's bullying that manager later, when he's like, I think the guy wants reward money or something. He's like, I'll give you fucking 10 seconds to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, he's like something about punching his rat face.
Yes.
In case you couldn't tell, this movie was way better than Netherworld.
It really is. It
I
also...
mean,
I noticed a lot of weird Wes Craven parallels, because they had the Freddy Krueger mask. They're clearly kind of trying to throw that in there. But then, like, the way that first woman dies who can't talk anymore was a lot like Drew Barrymore in Scream 1, where she can't, like, breathe. She can't breathe. She's, like, stabbed and her parents are coming home. But also kind of like Scream 2 when Jada Pinkett gets killed. She's in that theater, and there's everybody there, but she can't, like, they don't know what's going on. So I feel like this simultaneously, like, ripped him off and presaged what he was going to do.
well, yeah, this was before.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah, that's
Well, and the killer's
especially
calling people.
Well, and you know, you were talking about the death that's sort of similar to the Jada Pinkett Smith one, which, by the way, we should mention that scene in particular opens with the greatest choreographed dance scene in cinema history.
And we've seen
but
every...
yeah, so yeah,
and the breakdown.
so the woman, yeah, she gets her throat slit with a rubber fingernail, and she's in this theater, right? But she can't, you know, alert anyone because there's all these dancers that could obviously maybe do something to help her, but yeah, amazing.
Craig, you were gonna say the woman right before that, the dance instructor.
The dancers aren't dancing up to her expectations, so she has like an emotional breakdown, but it feels like there was no script for it, and that she's just very
forgot lines.
Yeah, she's just like, I'm so nervous.
It's amazing.
You guys, it just feels like somebody who doesn't know their lines and doesn't know how to improvise or anything, and so that's it. She pulls out a cigarette, but then puts the cigarette away, and it's like this whole
off. Yeah,
it lasts about 30 seconds too long too.
Yeah. Again, this movie does not make an incorrect choice in anything it does.
Yes. You also have so much of the fucking psychologist. Like, there's also a lot of people talking to the reporters that it seems like like the neighbor guy who turns out to be the killer, like was part of the first attack. and he just gives out so much exposition to the reporter. Where he's like, "Yeah, we're family friends, and we watch her daughter when she can't, and she's just not been the same since her husband left. And that fucking guy came in here, he scratched my face, and other stuff happened. There's a lot of backstory. It's like, why are you telling her this?"
But it's not shot like a news report either. It's not like with that type of camera thing. It's just normal. Like, who are you even talking to?
And then you get the psychologist doing the same thing, like towards the end, where he's just like laying out the entire psychology of what's going on. Amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the worst part of the movie was the ending. That just seemed completely tacked on with the girl getting the present. It's like, what the hell is she gonna do? She's fucking 10. She gonna start killing people?
That was like my favorite part, because they were just basically like, we're idiots, and so we're just gonna imply that like the mask is the evil or some shit. Like we're trying to squeeze a sequel out of this.
Well, I mean, that's totally understandable, but yeah, it's just like at the same time, it's like this girl is literally 10. I don't think she's gonna just go around and start murdering people. Although, I mean, apparently all you need to do is have that glove on and you can punch right through torsos. So
I was gonna say, I mean, it could happen in Virginia Beach.
No.
Clearly, yes.
Okay, so
Anyway,
any last...
if you haven't seen Night Killer, you need to change that.
Yeah, pretty much drop what you're doing and probably drink any and all alcohol that's near you and watch it.
It's definitely going to enhance your experience.
For those interested in watching it, for at least as of the time that we're recording this in late February, you can watch them on Tubi, both of these films.
And I would just go ahead and say I don't think they're going anywhere.
Yeah. Okay, so any last minute comments before we leave?
I think we covered it.
Okay. Have a great night, and thanks for listening, everyone.
Bloodhound Pix podcast is part of the Morbidly Beautiful podcast network. Produced by Josh Lee, Craig Drum, and Kyle Hintz. Music by Raymond Seed. Editing by Kyle Hintz.